So what does a billionaire YouTuber really have in common with an average American from the exact same generation? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. Today, we're going to put MrBeast head-to-head with the average Gen Z, and the results paint this pretty fascinating picture of success, sacrifice, and what the modern American dream even looks like anymore.
On one side, you've got this content creator who's building a global media empire, and on the other, a typical 20-something just trying to navigate the ups and downs of today's economy. You know, their paths might seem like they're on different planets, but as we're about to see, they've got more in common than just their generation.
All right, first up, let's talk about the money. And look, the financial gap we're about to see, it's not just big, it's like we're looking at two totally different realities.
So MrBeast's net worth? It's sitting somewhere around $1 billion. Now, you might see the average net worth for Gen Z is $127,000 and think, hey, not bad. But hold on. That number is super misleading because it's skewed by a few ultra-wealthy people. See, the median, which is way more realistic because it shows you the person smack in the middle, tells a totally different story. It's just $7,700.
Okay, to really get your head around that, let's look at daily revenue. MrBeast's empire is estimated to haul in over $1.5 million every single day. And then, you have the average person in Gen Z. They're bringing in about $140 a day, and that's before taxes. And once you factor in rent, student loans, just buying food, there's often not much left over at all.
And here's what that looks like. That giant bar on the left, that's MrBeast's daily revenue. And that little speck on the right, yeah, that's the average for Gen Z. It's almost hard to even process that scale.
So naturally, this insane income gap changes everything when it comes to spending. A typical Gen Z household, they're probably working with a budget around $3,000 a month for everything. MrBeast, on the other hand, is reportedly spending up to 1,000 times that every single month just on his videos and giving money away.
Okay, but with all that cash, does he live the crazy, extravagant lifestyle you'd imagine? Well, this is where the story gets really interesting.
I mean, with that kind of money, you're picturing a mega mansion, right? Some sprawling estate with giant gates and security everywhere. That's just what billionaires do, isn't it?
Well, think again. His main house is actually this surprisingly normal 4-bedroom place in a quiet suburb in North Carolina. He only paid about $320,000 for it back in 2018.
But wait, there's a twist. Turns out he's been quietly buying up the entire street for his family and his team. So yeah, the house itself is pretty modest, but his neighborhood, it's basically becoming his own private compound.
And this whole paradox thing, it totally applies to his cars too. So while a lot of people in Gen Z are just trying to get their first car, MrBeast is living this weird double life. For his day-to-day grind, he uses a super practical Dodge Caravan. But then, he also has this collection of supercars, including a Lamborghini. It's another one of those moments where his public image of being this practical guy smashes right into the reality of his insane wealth.
Okay, so we've seen the rewards, but what does it actually cost to get there? Let's talk about the price of the grind, what it costs in time, effort, and just life.
So this is what a typical 24 hours looks like for someone in Gen Z. You've got about 8.5 hours for work, 7 for sleep, and the rest is for, well, everything else. It's busy for sure, but it's pretty balanced.
Now let's switch over to MrBeast's schedule. He says he gets by on just 3 hours of sleep a night, and he pours the rest of his time, we're talking up to 18 hours a day, straight into his work. That pace is just relentless. There's almost no room for anything else.
And the scale of their work environments, also worlds apart. A lot of folks in Gen Z are either working solo or on a small team, maybe less than 10 people. MrBeast, he's the CEO of a company with over 250 full-time employees. I mean, he's got editors, engineers, even construction crews building his crazy sets. And that brings us to our final and maybe most important part, the human tally. What are the personal sacrifices that get made on these two very, very different paths?
To really get this, we have to look at the bigger picture. Gen Z is dealing with a serious mental health crisis. They've got higher stress levels than any generation before them, a lot of it tied to money worries. It's a generation that's also not afraid to get help, which is great. Over 20% are in therapy.
And MrBeast, he's definitely not immune to this pressure. He's been super open about the incredible stress of his job, even admitting that to get to where he is, he's basically had to put his own mental health on the back burner.
And this right here, this really lays out the trade-off, plain and simple. The average person in Gen Z finds time for leisure, for hanging out with friends, the stuff that's so important for staying sane. But for Mr. Beast, all those lines are just blurred. His social life is his work, and pretty much all of his personal time is swallowed up by planning the next video.
So it all boils down to this. On one hand, you've got a life of unbelievable wealth and influence, but it comes at the cost of your own well-being. On the other, you have a more balanced life, but it's got all that financial uncertainty. The big question is the trade-off worth it? And the answer to that might just define what success looks like for a whole generation.